Thank you for reminding. So you always reminded me. Thank you. The last time, I think same. Right. Covariance can be calculated by return of A and return of B. So covariance and divided 1 divided by M. That means number of observations, number of periods, right? Then return of AT and expected return, ER in the sense expected return, and BTR, BT in the sense the return of B in the time T, and expected return, ER in the sense expected return, right? The correlation. So we'll apply these formulas. Right, let's have a brief idea. What does it mean, these technical values? The covariance. Covariance measure the co-movement of the two random variables, right? The covariance, co in the sense two. If we take the two securities, so then the covariance says what directions they move, right? Here it says the large positive covariance is suggested that the random variable have to tendency move together, right? So if there is a positive covariance with a large value, it means that they are moving in the same direction, right? So if the price increasing of the stock A, so B also increasing the price. So they are moving in the same direction. That is what the covariance, positive covariance says, right? It gives an idea about the direction of movement of a particular two security, right? A large negative covariance suggests that the random variables have tendency to move in the opposite direction, right? So if it is a negative covariance, if you receive the negative covariance value, it means the one stock is increasing and other one is decreasing. It move in the opposite directions, right? The positive in the sense they are moving in the same direction. So when increasing, both are increasing. When decreasing, both are decreasing. But negative covariance in the sense it move in the opposite direction. When one is increasing, one stock price is increasing, other one is decreasing. And the covariance close to zero suggests that the random variable are independently. So there is no correlation, covariance between these two, and they are independently moving, right? If it is closer to zero, if it is zero, so then there is no covariance between these two, right? So simply the covariance says what direction that two securities are moving, right? Whether it's same direction or opposite direction. So then here it's gives an graphical representation how it's from the mean value, right? EX in the sense expected return of X and expected return of Y. So then if they move the same direction, that increasing, so then we call positive. If one is increasing, right, and other one is decreasing, so then it called negative covariance, right? Covariance measure the simultaneous behavior of two random variables about their center. Do they have tendency to move together, against each other, or independently, right? So it's tendency of move from the center, right? Center in the sense from the mean value, right? So if we take their mean value, so then they are moving in the same direction or opposite direction. It says the positive, whether based on the positive or negative. Then correlation. The covariance is the movement of direction. The correlation is statistic measure the relationship between series of number of representation data. The correlation is also calculated based on the covariance, right? Correlation is calculated based on the covariance. If you see this calculation, correlation is calculated by covariance of R and return of A and return of B divided by, what is this alpha sign represent? Alpha A in the sense, what is alpha?
Standard deviation.
Yes, very good. It says the standard deviation of A multiplied by standard deviation of B. Therefore, the correlation is calculated based on the covariance. So then correlation is says if how strong this relationship, right? It says because it has the correlation is depend on the 0 to 1. The value is depend on the 0 to 1. So then it says how strong this relationship, and it also give the direction. Positive correlated items move the same directions, negative correlated move the opposite directions, and correlation coefficient is measures in degree of correlation between series of number of representing data. Right? So then correlation means it also gives the direction as well as it gives an idea how strong this relationship, right? If it is a positive correlation value, so then it says that particular two stocks are moving in the same direction. Their expected returns are increasing. Both are increasing. Yeah. And it has a strong relationship. If it is closer to 1, because that correlation is in between correlations mainly lie on 0 to 1. If it is closer to 1 in the sense strong relationship, if it is closer to 0, that weak relationship, right? So then if it is a positive 1, positive closer to 1, so then that they are moving in the same direction. If it is a negative, so then they are moving in opposite direction. And if it is closer to -1, that means strongly opposite direction. They are moving in strongly opposite direction. Here the perfect positive correlation describes the two positive correlator series having correlation coefficient of 1, +1 and plus minus. And if there is no correlation, so then it's 0. Right. Here it says the how that negative correlation returns can be described through the figure, right? Here the stock A, this is perfect negative correlated returns. Return of stock A, it's over the period starting from that is red color, stock A, their return goes down from 15 to whatever the 0.5, and return of B, that it goes up, right? So 5 to 15. So then they are negatively correlated securities, right? So then their returns are moving opposite direction, and we can get the how strong based on the calculated correlation value. Then perfectly positive correlated return in the sense they are moving the same direction, right? When decreasing, both are decreasing. So here that both lines are lie on each other, right? So then they are initially both are decreasing, again they are increasing, right? So they are positively correlated. What does correlation tell us about the market, right? So this is how it's important in the market perspective. Positive correlated market can be expected to move in similar ways. Negative correlated markets are likely to be opposite. That is basic thing. If it is a positive, that their expected return are increasing on both. When it is decreasing, both are decreasing. So then this information is important because knowing which markets are positive or negative correlated given market is very important for gaining the understanding of the future direction, right? So that it is important to decide what would be the future behavior of the particular investments, right? Whether that the market is positively correlated or negatively correlated, then we have to have an understand what would be our future. Right. Then let's practice one example. Right. Here is the one example. This is two stocks we have, A and B, just examples. And so you have given the stock prices, right? Stock prices for the A and B. So then for each month, it may be the average price per month, right? So normally daily prices are there. So based on the daily price, so we can calculate the monthly average price. So you have already given the monthly price. So then we are expecting to calculate the portfolio return and portfolio standard deviation representing the risk. Right. Please copy this information into your Excel sheet and we'll practice it. So when you finish, please let me know. Raise your hands. So you can use these formats that subscript or super subscript if you type a power value. So then we can use this super subscript, and if you use smaller value, so then RAT, so then the AT, just select AT and format cells. So then you can use subscript, right? Subscript. So then some of you are just reducing these fonts, so that is not applicable, right? So that can be done, but it's not the correct way, right? Once you finish, please let me know. So improve your typing speed as well, right? So because most probably you have a physical exams in future. So therefore, you have to practice it. So 3-hour paper will be there. So which one would you prefer? You prefer online exam or physical exam? Yes, physical exam. So then it's happy to see you are interesting for the physical exam, but so I thought that you are more interesting for the online, right? Anyway, so physical exam is, I think we can have a real assessment on your learning process. Yes, physical exam will be there. So and so I just have one example to share with you how these people are doing online exam. Let me share it. Can you see this one of the student in your batch, right? See this part, how these people are copying from the internet. So see how much they interest in to give the answers. See, so they also provide some additional reading. Can you see it? This is one of your, I don't show you the name. This is one of your student. Sometimes he or she might be there. See how much they are negligence when you write the answers in online exam. This is one short answer they have given. They also, he or she copy from somewhere. And can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes. What do you think? See how do they do? So they are providing additional reading for us. So this is, I just want to share it, how you are doing online exams, right? Anyway, don't do such things. Even this is not the way we are expecting. Sir, there are discussion on to reopen the university. Any date fixed? Yes, we are having a discussion, but the date not yet finalized. So then all the students might not take an at once. Sometimes that the final year students will take and they will finish their practicals and they allowed to finish the degree. And so then the discussions are going on. We'll let you know. But the lecture series, I think after completing the lecture series, you will be bringing to the university, because again come to end doing the physical lecture is not practical sometimes, because we are more focused on the exams for your batch. Others, I think because you are in the last year, final year, no, the other years, so they might bring and they might have some lectures, right? Hopefully so can you give the past papers for our practice? Yes, I will inform Mr. Nishant, and he will upload some past papers. Can't you get from the library? Do you have the library access? So if you can online, I think you all have library access. So anyway, so I will upload a few practical papers into LMS, so then you can download there, right? Right, we'll start the practical. Yeah, you have given the two stocks, that is stock prices. So we are going to calculate the return of each stock, and then we can calculate the portfolio risk and return, right? So even if you have given this limited number, you can calculate the manually, but but practical context, you might given the thousands of information, right? The stock prices for the last year, stock prices for the daily, right? So then there are huge data sets, you can't practically do it. So then this would be the very much applicable in the practical context, right? Here you have given the weights. Each equal weights have assigned at the moment, but we can change it after optimize our portfolio risk, which is minimize it. So then stock A given the 0.5 and stock B given the 0.5, equal weight at the initial stage we assign. Then stock A prices for the last 12 months has given, and stock B prices also given, right? So then we are going to calculate the return, right? Usually first we start from the traditional way we are using to calculate the stock return. In traditional, we are get the differences between today's price and last price. Then we divide it by average price, right? So if you remember in your manual calculations, right, in portfolio, you might use this difference between the today's price and the previous price and divided by the average price of these two prices, right? So let's apply this starting from equal. So here that's the 0 in the sense today's price, then not the today's, that the initial price that 25 and 45. So then first month, that is 24, right? So this is the initial prices. Then it becomes 24 in the first month, and stock B price becomes 44.85. Then let's apply equal. First we calculate the return for the first month. Today's prices minus the previous price, divide by average price, right? So here, this one plus this one. So it should be divided by 2. That's so we should bring this average value within bracket, because otherwise dividend will apply earlier. So that is basic mathematics. We just get the differences, right? Then press enter. So I have given in percentage value, so you can give it percentage. So just convert into percentage, right? Let me do it again. Open bracket. Today's price minus previous price, close the bracket, divided by average price in the sense plus these 2 and divided by 2, since we have 2 prices. Then this should both bring in the bracket. Right, then press enter, and we can drag it over here. So then it automatically calculate the return of stock B, and we can just double click on it and see how much easy. If you are using Excel, if you have thousands of data, within 1 second, you can get the detail output. So here what I did is, so I just apply for the formula for this cell, first cell, then I just drag it into stock B as well. So if you see, click on the stock C, you can see that C9 minus C8 divided by average of these 2 prices, C8 plus C9 divided by 2. Then by selecting these 2, then double click on this cross mark. So then, or else you can drag it down. So you can also drag it down. That is also applicable. This is the manual way we are using. When you use the manual, you can practice it by using the average, the difference divided by average price, different price difference divided by. If it is a dividend, so then we need to add the dividend, price difference plus dividend. Here we have not given the dividends. Right. This is the using formula. Then we can, rather than applying the formula, that is the finance formula, we can use the Excel function. So which I highlighted in the handout. Right, this is ln function, right? Natural logarithm, right? Natural logarithm value, natural logarithm of the returns. We get the natural log. So normally in the research, so this is natural log value we are using. So if you apply some big values, right? So then, for example, total assets can be in millions of value, and the other variable might be the stock price, right? So then that's incompatible with these two, that millions value and that small value. So then we can convert this millions value into natural log value. So then it become a decimals. So then we can apply the regression, right? So when you practice the research analysis, so you will be able to learn. Right, let's apply the ln functions, type ln, open bracket. It's very much easy. Right? Don't take the return value, right? It's the return. So we select the stock prices, today's price divided by previous price. You don't want to apply these two methods, right? I just want to show what the available methods, right? Then press enter. You can see that the same value here, the what we manual formula. Here is the ln function. So how we can do is ln open bracket, or else you can open bracket, you can select the formula dialog box, right? So then here today's price divided by previous price. Then press done. Sometimes slight differences might be there, but it can be ignored. For example, if you see this one and this one, very little difference, but here this one and this one, but they can be ignored, right? Here 16.03, here 16%, 14.43 and 14.43. So that can be ignored, right? So normally we are not much concerned about these slight differences. Right. Now we already calculate the real return, right? These are the real returns. So this is the manual function. I am not using this one I just want to show you how it's used, right? In Excel, we just use ln function, right? Have you finished so far any question, or if you miss anything, I can repeat it. Right, so it seems no issue. Let me calculate the expected return. Expected return of stock A. Expected return of stock A, right? How do we calculate? So the expected return, what is the expected return? If you are doing manually, how do we calculate it? It's a mean value, no? Average value. So average value. So we can calculate the average. That is average of these stock returns. You can use this both using a formula and using function, but I just prefer to use this ln function because it's much easier than the manual. Because if you miss one bracket in manual, you will be given the wrong answer. 77.42, we can just drag it here and it's automatically calculate the stock B return as well. So here also you can see the formula average G9 to G20. This is G9 to G20 of average. Let me practice this average of 1 to 12 months, right? So then we can press enter and we can drag into stock B, right? Okay, just 1 minute. Student, please give me 5 minutes. I will contact you, right, within 5 minutes. Right. Sorry for the interruption. So I had a right. So we have calculated the expected return. Hopefully you all calculated. Then we need to calculate the variance, right? So let's complete these two columns. Then we can easily calculate the variance of each stock. This is how we can apply return of a stock A on the time T. So then we can use this stock return minus expected return of stock A. Stock A expected return, right? So that should be fixed. So then therefore we use F4. That means we can use it, we can fix it by using F4. It's become absolute cell. Then press enter. Then you can't drag into a next cell because we have already fixed one value. So then just it's drag it down, or else we can double click on it. Then we can calculate the difference between return of B and expected return. Minus return of stock A, stock B minus expected return of stock B. That should be fixed. Then press enter. And I just mix up this manual way and what we can use it in Excel, right? So this is the way we are using the manual function, right? Then we can multiply these two. Then press enter. What I did is equal this one multiply by this one. Press enter. Then double click on it. Then we can get the variance. Right? Variance in the sense we divided by M in the sense number of observation. We can get the average. Average of these. If you know the function, if you know the what the calculation behind each value, each technical calculations, for example, variance, so then we can easily apply the Excel function. So here, so we can get the, since we have the minus, we can get the, we need to get the squared value, right? So here you can see how we can calculate the standard deviation and variance. So detail, we need to get the squared value, right? So otherwise, so let's add we can add, for understanding, we can add another row. So we can get the squared value since this minus, so we have to get the squared value right here. Right, so then we can get the power value. Average, this is the variance of these two. Right. This is the manual way we can calculate the variance, right? Variance of each variance of each variance of each stock. Please practice it. Right? Anything you need to write. This is the manual way we can calculate variance of each stock, right? Right. So you can calculate the variance. So variance can be calculated in Excel function. We have the Excel function to calculate the variance of particular data series. We can use VARP, right? So VARP, that is variance of population, right? Variance of population, variance of P, or variance here, the earlier function. In UR, in earlier versions, we have VARP. In this version, VAR.P is there, right? Variance of population, right? You just select these differences, right? Then close the bracket. Variance of population, VARP. In earlier version, you will find the VARP, right? So then you can see the same value, right? So likewise, please calculate for the stock B. right? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, students?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Right, okay. Variance, right, stock B, we can calculate variance of population. For the stock B, variance of population here. Right. Then standard deviation, variance, if you have given the variance, so how do you calculate the standard deviation? Sorry. Here I have given the detailed information on the handout. Since these are the basic things, standard deviation. So what is the basic idea of standard deviation? The standard deviation in the sense it gives an average value, how far away from the mean value, right? So what the standard deviation represent in the finance? So calculated the standard deviation, what does it represent?
Six.
Yes, it represents the risk of the particular portfolio, particular stock, right? Standard deviation represent the risk. That means if you take the expected return, how far away from our each returns from the expected return. It's given average value, right? It's kind of average value. How far away our each returns from the expected return, right? When the higher the standard deviation, that means that our expected return are highly fluctuated. So then it's higher the risk, right? So then standard deviation can be calculated. How do you calculate standard deviation from the variance? If you have given the variance, so here you can see standard deviation, how you can calculate standard deviation. Right. Differences, this is the variance, then risk is 3%. We'll let discuss later. So then how to calculate the standard deviation? It's the square root of variance, square root of the variance. Yes, yes, one student has given the answer. It's the square root of the variance. See how much easy we can use if you use in the Excel. This part is actually not needed, right? This part is not needed. This is something we just need this. Let me show this in another color. These parts are actually we don't need. This is for understanding. I just want to show how this can be done in manually and how we can apply the Excel, right? You just need these things, right? Right. So then we have the standard deviation of stock A, that is 0.13, and stock B is 0.08, right? Then we can calculate the covariance, right? The covariance is need to calculate the correlation as well as portfolio return, right? Since we have two stock, we need to calculate the covariance, right? How do you calculate the covariance? So here I have given earlier, the formula has already given. Here, the covariance is these two multiplied by these two and divided by number of observation, right? This is the, here these two multiply by these two, that this one and this one. So then covariance is average of this column, average of these differences. It's 0.0.005. Covariance. Let's convert into percentage so then you can easily. Right, this is average, the covariance. Then we can also apply the Excel function, right? Covariance, we need to get the covariance of these two, return of stock A and return of stock B, right? Return of stock A and stock B. Right? Then we can calculate covariance, COV, covariance of population, right? Covariance of population, COVAR. In earlier version, we have COVAR, COVAR, covariance. In later versions, recent versions, we have covariance P, right? That is covariance of population. I'm using this, and if you are using COVAR, so that is also applicable. Covariance of, you need to select this stock A, return of stock A, right? Don't use any calculated these values, right? These are manual calculations, comma, stock B, return of stock B. Be careful when you're selecting the correct column, right? So you might, if you are familiar with the Excel, so you don't need to go for these manual calculations. So at once you can take. So here you can see the same value. Since this is the first example, I am using this manual as well as the Excel versions, Excel functions. Hereafter, I am not using the manual function. I just want to link between your practical experience and your theoretical experience. right? Yeah, I will do it. If you miss anything, please ask me. Anything? The manual function is average of these multiplied values, right? Yes, one question is there. Yes. Covariance can be calculate average of these average. Then function is covariance, co-var, incompatibility functions, that is covariance, that is earlier version. Here I am using 2019 version. So then it gives covariance P, right? Covariance P in the sense we should use the returns, right? Return of stock A, comma, array 1. Array in the sense the number of data series, right? The series of data. Array 1 in the sense here you can see, if you go through the, if you just select here fx, so then you can see the dialog box for the particular function. Then array 1 in the sense the particular data series. Then array 2 in the sense, array 2 is the stock B, returns of stock B, right? Then you can see that the results is given, done. So then close the bracket. Right, then we'll calculate the correlation. Correlation is covariance of R and RAB divided by standard deviation of A multiplied by standard deviation of B, right? Standard deviation of A multiplied by standard deviation of B. That is manual function, right? Let's practice it. Manual function. Covariance we have already calculated. Covariance divide by standard deviation of A and sorry, what is this? Not standard deviation. Yes, this is standard. Sorry, this is standard deviation. Standard deviation of. So I just mix up with the variance. So standard deviation multiplied by standard deviation of B. Zero point 0.47, right? Again, I will do it. Covariance multiply by standard deviation of A, standard deviation of B, standard deviation of B. Then press enter. sorry, this is divided now. Right, correlation. So then we can also apply the correlation function in the Excel. Correl, that is correlation of stock A, comma, correlation of returns of stock B. Then close the bracket, then press enter. Same answer. I will do it again. Correl, type correl, correlation. Remember, don't take these prices. You need to take the returns, right? Because we are all these things calculated based on the return, not the prices. If you have mistakenly selected price, so you will receive the wrong answer. Comma. Remember, you need to put the comma. So then return of stock B, then close the bracket. Right. Then portfolio return. Portfolio return. Portfolio return can be calculated. Expected return of stock A multiplied by the given weight. So our investment, total investment, we invest half amount on stock A for the moment. We assume that we invest on 0.5, right? That is half of the total investment plus expected return multiplied by stock B, return of stock B. Right, it's 5.44. See, if you invest on individual, so we will receive 7.242 in from stock A and 3.47 from stock B. But since we invest in both, we have to, as we earlier explained, that total return will be reduced. So then, but the risk is also getting lower. Yes, one question. Let me see. Sir, sorry, can you do the correlation formula again? Yes. Correlation formula, right? Correlation function and both I will do it. Correlation. So the manual correlation can be calculated. The manually, this is the way. Covariance of RA and RB divided by standard deviation of A and standard deviation of B. Right? Covariance is already calculated, divided by, within bracket, standard deviation of A multiplied by standard deviation of B. That is 0.47. Then if you use in the function in Excel, correl. We can use the correlation function, right? Correlation function. So it is used, we calculated stock return of stock B, comma, stock return of stock B, stock A and stock B. Then close the bracket, press enter. Then portfolio variance. We need to calculate the portfolio variance. So here you can see the portfolio variance can be calculated. The variance, not the portfolio standard deviation. Portfolio variance, that weight A power 2, and this is variance of stock A plus weight B power 2 and variance of B plus 2 multiplied by weight A multiplied by weight B, covariance of A and B, right? Let's apply this formula. This is there is no function applicable to portfolio variance. We have to use this manual function, right? So there is no Excel function. So therefore we can use this finance function, right? Let's apply it. Start from equal weight A power 2 multiply by, right? What is it? Variance, right? This is the standard deviation power 2 in the sense it other way it's variance, right? Here it's the standard deviation, we get the square root of variance. So then here the power 2 in the sense here it's default, it's variance, right? So then we can select the variance of stock A, right? Let's put it in bracket, right? Otherwise the calculation will mislead. Then plus, right? Then weight of stock B multiply by variance of stock B, variance of stock B, close the bracket, open and close the bracket, right? Now we finish this part, stock A power 2 multiplied by variance plus stock B power 2 multiplied by variance of stock B plus 2, right? Plus 2 multiplied by weight A multiplied by weight B multiplied by, what is it? Covariance of A and B. This is covariance of A and B. We have already calculated covariance, that is this one, minus 0.51. Then again, please put in the back bracket, otherwise that the calculations will go wrong, right? Then press enter. You can see here's the formula, portfolio variance. That is manual function, what we already know, this one, right? Right. So then portfolio standard deviation. Which represent the risk. Risk can be calculated square root of variance. That is 6%. Right. Right. So it's sharp at 1. Right. We covered the basic calculation of portfolio with 2 assets, right? So if you have, we'll discuss later on with multiple assets, right? So here, multiple assets. So here we just have 2 assets, right? Actually, you just need these are the additional calculation to have and understand what the manual calculation is, but this can be done within 5 minutes, right? If you practice it, so if you know the functions and if you know the applicable rules, so you can do it within 5 minutes. If you have the data set, if you're familiar with the formulas. In exam, you don't need to use this both method, right? You just apply the one Excel function, that is enough. So here I just want to explain how it's compare with the manual. Right, risk. Any clarification? I just finish for the today. So any clarification or any thing you need to repeat? And Wednesday, you don't have the classroom test. Earlier, we assigned the Wednesday based on we have a schedule and without overlapping the other subject assignment, right? So we just given the date by considering the other subject, but now with this situation, we have no idea what the date assigned for the what the date assigned for the other subjects, right? Their assignments for their assignments. So therefore, please inform to Mr. Nishanta with so the date as soon as possible, right? So then I heard that the end of this week, that 30th and 31st, you have the proposal viva. So then we can't. The mid test එකට දෙන්නේ Excel practical sheet එකක්. The years, most probably you will be given the practical sheet, and after completing it, you have to upload it, right? You have to upload it. It's online test. So you will be given the practical question. So like this data, kind of a data will be given. So you have to complete this manually and upload into LMS, right? It's not a multiple choice. Most probably it will be the practical activity you have to do in the exam Excel spreadsheet and upload into LMS in a given link, right? It's also, yes, another question. So mid එකට දෙන්න Excel එක download කරලා අපි එක කරලා upload කරන්න ඕනේ නේද sir? Question is given, right? Question is given. You can, you don't need to download it, right? The question itself given in the page. Let me show you one. So what is your intake? You are 16.
17.
So could you please upload recording of previous lesson to LMS to do the practicals? As previous days we have a lot of signal issues and power cuts. Yes, definitely I will upload it. So for the moment I just uploaded the practical. Give me a few days, so I just need to download it and go through it. How is the quality of this recording, and then I will upload it. So I have no such. Sir, can you please upload the recording before the mid exam? Yes, I will upload it. So I will upload it within these few days, and you will be able to get it down. Right. For the today, I just stop from here. So you better go through it. What we already practice it. Most probably first week of January, the midterm test will be there. Midterm first week of January, right? Please discuss with Nishant sir, and then you can assign whatever the preferred day, right? For the today, I just stop from. I think Friday we don't have that with the holidays. If I have time, I will assign an additional one. Right. Thank you very much for today's. Thank you for joining. Thank you, students.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.